Let's now talk about our big focus story. A top Indian woman cyclist has accused the national sprint team chief coach of inappropriate behavior during a camp in Slovenia. The complaint was submitted in an email sent to the Sports Authority of India. The complainant was immediately brought back to India to ensure her safety. So what has happened is, because of this misconduct, a female athlete had to cut short her training abroad. The SAI and the Cycling Federation of India have formed two separate inquiry committees to look into this allegation. The cyclist was part of the Indian team that was in Slovenia to prepare for the Asian Championship. That remains compromised, all on account of the coach that allegedly misbehaved with one of the female cyclists. The Asian Championship is to be held in New Delhi from the 18th of June to 22nd of June. The coach and the rest of the Indian cyclists are expected to return to India on the 14th. Now, in a statement, the Sports Authority of India says that the coach was appointed on the recommendation of the Cycling Federation of India. The CFI on its part says now it is ready to go with any decision taken by SAI, and any probe that is initiated by Sports Authority will have full cooperation of the Federation. So this is what the sports management authorities are saying. The Federation's own probe committee comprises of Cycling Federation of India's Secretary General Maninder Pal Singh. Now, my colleague Karishma spoke to Mr. Singh, and we tried to find out more details about what exactly happened. Mirror now has accessed exclusive details of what happened in the coaching and the training camp in Slovenia. I'm going to go across now, therefore, to Karishma, who joins me live to talk us through those details. Good evening, Karishma. Let's first just get the facts in order. What do we know so far? You've had conversation with some of the top officials, and you were also tracking all the details about why a woman cyclist was forced to return home, leaving her training halfway in Slovenia.
Well, it's absolutely, Afrida, very, terrible scenes from Slovenia, where a cyclist had to return home because this male coach, the chief coach of sprinting, Mr. RK Sharma, allegedly had inappropriate behavior with her, and we have in fact accessed exclusive details in an interview to Times Network. Maninder Pal Singh, who is the General Secretary of the Cycling Federation of India, has gone on record to say that this male coach, RK Sharma, asked the female cyclist to share a room with her in Slovenia. This is what disturbed the female cyclist, and then she wrote a complaint to the Sports Authority of India, the Cycling Federation of India also getting into action and arranging for a separate room, but the matter had gone out of hand and the cyclist was immediately called back to India. The entire camp is going to come back around the 14th of June, and the Sports Ministry is very certain that they are going to do a proper hearing with RK Sharma, and strict action is going to be taken against this coach. And the Cycling Federation of India has said that they are going to make efforts to create more awareness around this issue with female athletes, Afrida.
Yes, it's a very delicate matter. Athletes are bound to go for these training camps, but that doesn't mean that their safety is not important. That doesn't mean that they become vulnerable to male coaches. Thanks, Karishma, for joining us. We'll play out the interview that you spoke about. But first, let me introduce our guests this evening. Manisha Malhotra, head of JSW Sports Excellence and Scouting Program, also former tennis player and Asian Games silver medalist. Joining us also is Dr. Deepa Malik, President of the Paralympic Committee of India and Paralympic Games silver medalist. Also, of course, as we know, a Padma Shri and an Arjuna awardee. It's my pleasure and honor to have you both on the program. Thank you so much for joining us. Before I go across to you with my questions, let's listen in to Karishma's exclusive conversation with one of the top officials of the Cycling Federation of India on what happened in that training camp in Slovenia. Here it is.
What are the nature of these allegations that have been made against Mr. RK Sharma?
Yeah, so the allegations that she has stated in her statement are that Sharma had asked her to share a room with her in Slovenia, but Omkar Singh ji, who is our ex-officio member, he had a word when we got to know through SAI that there is some such situation in Slovenia when they arrived there. So he had a personal talk with the
what are the nature of these allegations that have been made against Mr. RK Sharma?
Yeah, so the allegations that she has stated in her statement are that Sharma had asked her to share a room with her in Slovenia, but Omkar Singh ji, who is our ex-officio member, he had a word when we got to know through Sai that there is some such situation in Slovenia when they arrived there. So he had a personal talk with the cyclist, and she very categorically said that there is no such problem of any misbehavior. It was only that there was a lack of rooms in the hotel, so which was sorted out there and then before they could check in, and the room was arranged for her. And he had a talk with the cyclist again after a while to ask her if she was comfortable and there was any issue. So she was absolutely clear that there is no problem as such. After that, we had no information from Slovenia, either from the rider or from anybody, that there is any issue. This only came to light once we received the complaint from her.
No, but she also went ahead and filed a complaint with the Sports Authority of India. So obviously there was something that went wrong.
Absolutely. So that is a matter of investigation. Again, it would not be right for me to comment without, because the SAI has already constituted a committee which is looking into it. So let's.
Is there a situation that she had to share a room with a male coach?
Yeah. So the thing was, there is always a lady coach which accompanies the lady team. She backed out at the last moment because she had a knee injury. She is not here. She's still in Manipur getting her treatment done.
Okay, Manisha Malhotra, coming to you first on this. If you heard that conversation, I felt that the Cycling Federation of India is also trying to wriggle out, because here you have Mr. Singh also saying that initially she was okay with that arrangement. Why would she file a complaint on an issue of sharing a room with a coach? Because what we heard this gentleman tell us is that there were a shortage of rooms. She was asked to share a room with a male coach. Initially, she was okay with it, and later on, she filed a complaint. Now, this is really unacceptable. There seems to be some doubts being cast on her complaint as well.
Well, I mean, first of all, it's alleged. So let's wait till the whole investigation plays out. But you're absolutely right. I mean, I think that this is a very, very serious allegation. It is something that is completely unacceptable, especially when we have a government now that's spending crores and crores of rupees. I don't think that, a shortage of rooms or whatever the case may be should be an excuse for anybody having to share a room with a coach. And to more importantly, to ask a female to share a room with a men's coach is absolutely a big no-no in my mind. And the discipline has to punishment has to be meted out, and we'll have to wait to see what both sides have to say. But I agree with you that this is something serious.
Yes, and fair enough, but, like you mentioned, the fact that a female athlete is being asked to share a room. Now, where all this is coming from and where I'm coming from, let me put it very clearly. Whenever there is this kind of a power imbalance, there is a situation where a woman is, with a male superior, their careers at stake. If I can come to you, Deepa Malik, the CFI says that at the first instance, the athlete had no problem. Later, she filed a complaint. Now, matter is being investigated. Fair enough, we need to hear both sides. Let's not cast any aspersions on anyone. But tell me, are female athletes vulnerable to male coaches like in any other workplace, where the man is in a position of power? Can you hear me? Deepa Malik, you'll have to unmute yourself. I'm not able to hear you.
Yeah. Hi, can you hear me now?
Yes, please go ahead.
I said that's the case because there are less representation of women in the ecosystem. And that's what I'm always vouching for, and I'm always rooting for, that more and more women have to come forward and start becoming a part of the sports ecosystem. And we have to have women in leadership roles. I'm very happy that Paralympic Committee of India has chosen an athlete, and when there are more athletes into the administration, the communication is better and faster. So we have to encourage better communication and better participation and more number of women on roll. And this incident is very unfortunate. though again, as Manisha and everybody is saying that the investigation is still to be done, and let us not jump to conclusions before both the sides have been heard. But I'm really happy that if a woman was uncomfortable, she had the courage to speak up and express herself. And that's the kind of atmosphere we need to create, where women are not scared to speak up or express their discomforts. And this is our responsibility also as administration, as federation, as sports authority, to give that confidence to our female athletes, coaches, who are slowly becoming a part of the sports ecosystem, to be able to express themselves and have easy communication.
No,
and
that's absolutely correct. There needs to be, a culture where women are not afraid to speak up. But the issue is there are all kinds of workplaces. In a way, a professional athlete is at a workplace when she is with a coach. Now, when you come to a corporate setup, there are these internal complaints committee, there are these rules that have to be followed, and it's a very laid down structure. When it comes to a fluid kind of a situation, say in this kind of a situation with the coach and the athletes, or even in a film production where the teams are traveling, those rules often don't apply. There's no internal complaints committee. The kind of guidelines that we have for workplace harassment, those don't kick in, or do they? Tell me, how does it work? Where does a woman go to as the first
that way, I'll be
option?
very proud that there is a beautiful sports code out there. And we as a federation also are very conscious. We have a disciplinary committee. We have an integrated system where we have athlete representatives. We have female coaches who are made mentors, even our sports psychologists, whom we include in our system of training. They also become like confidant or mentors, where an ease of communication is given to the athletes, whether male or a female. I mean, let's not just talk about women. Even men can have certain issues. I think, and every time a team is leaving, an extra attention is given. There is a webinar. Now we have beautiful system of creating WhatsApp groups, which are faster and open for communication. And every team leaving, we have a dedicated WhatsApp group. We have a dedicated in which all the senior officials, whether Secretary General, the President, the administrative officer, everybody is part of that group. And there is a continuous communication that happens. Deliberate attention is given on the distribution, because we also have to take care of the disability assistance. So that becomes and that sometimes does get challenging, because the number of rooms allotted are in probably even numbers, 2 per head, but the constitution of the team can be not in even numbers when it comes to the distribution of female athletes and the male athletes. And then, so I guess this is a lesson learned, that we must always have this option of, if it ends up being an odd number, we should not be sticklers to the given, approved budgets. There should also always be a flexibility in such a case, that if an additional room has to be hired, it has to be hired.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm glad you said that there are systems in place, and you're saying that women have a number of forums to report such cases. Manisha Malhotra, do you expect in this particular case a fair investigation? Can there be, like, we've said that there's no point weighing in on one side or the other. There are allegations, okay, but can we expect a fair investigation? Can we expect deterrent action? Typically, in such cases, inquiries are called for, and then it becomes a long and arduous battle for the complainant in most cases.
Well, I mean, I would surely hope so. I think that in this case, with 2 parallel committees being formed, we definitely will get to the bottom of it. And I do like to give the benefit of the doubt to the system and say that they will do a credible job. And hats off, as Deepa said, to the athlete who had the courage to step out. I mean, this is a systemic problem and an inherent problem within sport, and male or female. And just as Deepa said, that we just don't have enough women in powerful positions. And it also happens in the men. It's just that we've not been able to have athletes to have the courage to step up. So kudos to the cyclist, and I hope that she gets justice, and it's a lesson learned for the future.
Right. Last word to you, Deepa Malik, because, we here on Mirror Now, we take up these issues because we want these conversations to happen. Nobody should think they can get away with these situations. I want to ask you, the fact is that this is not the first case. I mean, only recently, last month, I here on this program reported a case of a female gymnast reporting how she was filmed without her consent. She did not know that filming was not authorized. So these are the kind of instances that we take up, only to ensure that a very safe working environment, training environment is created. What would be your suggestion if there is one big takeaway from this incident?
We should have more awareness programs and webinars hosted on code of conduct. We have to, it's very good not to have any differentiation between a woman athlete and a male athlete. We have to push them beyond their limits when they train. They have to be treated at par. All that is fine when it is in the training arena and when it comes to deliverance of their performance. But we have to have certain guidelines and, draw privacy lines when it comes to their living quarters or their living area or their, So we have to, now that women are coming forward, women are educated, and we will see more and more women coming and doing better in the world of sports, and the ecosystem is growing. We need to have some soft skill classes also. Sometimes the way of expression of a male coach may not be intended that way, but it doesn't come out in the right light, or maybe it's not the accepted language that should have been used. So we have to have more communication skills and more awareness on the subject, and a more talk around this. So this should be the takeaway, that we should have some defined code of conduct and kind of exchange on certain guidelines when it comes to, because when they go out as a team, it is an inclusive team where men, women both go, and the camps are also organized. In fact, when we go abroad, the living quarters are also the same. There is no women hostel or a men hostel. So we have to talk about the code of conduct more often.
Absolutely. That was the whole idea of this conversation, in fact, to have voices like yourself tell us more about how we can have a system in place that these incidents don't happen. Manisha Malhotra, Dr. Deepa Malik, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.